Every kitchen in America has one. You use it 3 or 4 times a day without thinking. It heats coffee, melts butter, defrosts chicken. It hums on a counter you barely notice anymore, and you have probably never once wondered how it got there. But the microwave oven was not invented. It was noticed. In 1945, a candy bar melted in an engineer's pocket while he stood near a military radar device. He was not the first person that bar could have melted for. He was just the one who stopped to ask why. And inside the very same company, another engineer was independently arriving at the same discovery through a completely different path. The microwave oven was invented by accident, twice, and the man who got the patent was neither the first to notice nor the one who imagined the appliance sitting on your counter today. How many times a day do you actually use yours? The engineer was Percy Spencer, and nothing about his early life suggests he was destined to hold more than 100 patents. His father died when Percy was 18 months old. His mother abandoned him to relatives in Maine. By the time he was 12, he had dropped out of school entirely to work in a weaving mill. He had no formal education in engineering. None. He learned what he needed on the job and through his own reading. What he had was hunger. At 18, he enlisted in the US Navy as a radio operator. He had been reading about the wireless operators aboard the Titanic, and the physics of electromagnetic waves consumed him. He studied the way other people study prayer. By the time Spencer walked into the company, he was the 5th employee. World War II made him. He grew the company's power tube division from 15 people to over 1,000, building the magnetrons that went into Allied radar systems across every theater of the war. He ran a factory floor. He supervised. He optimized. He produced. He was the kind of person who noticed when something went wrong, because something going wrong cost the war effort money and time. That instinct is the entire story. Because the moment that gave the world the microwave oven was, at its core, a moment of noticing. A moment of paying attention to something everyone else would have wiped off and forgotten. But Spencer did not invent the device that cooked the candy bar. He did not even invent the technology behind it. The cavity magnetron was British. It was built in 1940 by Sir John Randall and Harry Boot at the University of Birmingham. It was a compact source of microwave radiation, powerful enough to drive anti-aircraft radar. The British were losing the war and lacked the manufacturing scale to build them in volume. So in 1940, London shared the design with Washington. The Tizard mission carried the magnetron to American shores during the Battle of Britain. British physicists brought the technology to American scientists and engineers because London was being bombed and the country needed American factories more than it needed secrets. That transfer is why Percy Spencer had a magnetron running in front of him in 1945. Without the Tizard mission, there is no candy bar, no popcorn, no microwave oven. The appliance on your counter is, in the most literal sense, a downstream consequence of Britain giving away its most valuable war-winning invention because the alternative was losing the war. There was no American genius in a vacuum. There was a British physicist who built the impossible, a desperate diplomatic mission that helped keep the British Empire in the fight, and an American factory floor where a self-taught engineer happened to be standing at the right moment. Now the ordinary day. This is where it gets strange. It was 1945. Spencer was walking through a Raytheon test rig where magnetrons were running at full power. He felt something warm against his hip. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a peanut cluster candy bar. It was soft. It was melting from the inside out. His grandson, Rod Spencer, later told a reporter, "My grandfather was watching a microwave testing rig, and he realized that the peanut cluster bar in his pocket started to melt. It got quite warm." This is the moment, not the eureka, not the headline. The pause. Spencer did not throw the bar away. He did not wipe his pants and move on. He did not assume it had been sitting near a heater. He asked why a candy bar would melt next to a magnetron. So he ran a test. He brought popcorn kernels into the lab and placed them near the device. They popped, scattering across the floor. Then he tried an egg. The egg exploded. It burst in the face of a curious colleague who had leaned in to see what the magnetron could do. The yolk ran down the man's shirt, the lab went quiet, and Spencer kept working. On October 8, 1945, Spencer filed U.S. Patent 249-5429, titled Method of Treating Foodstuffs. But look at the illustration that accompanies it. It is not a kitchen appliance, it is a conveyor belt. Food moves past a stream of microwaves inside an industrial heating chamber. Spencer's vision was a factory system, not a household oven. The patent text reads, "I have found that an egg may be rendered hard-boiled with the expenditure of 2 kilo." The patent describes a process for industrial food preparation. The kitchen microwave is not in this drawing. Here is where the story turns on itself. Inside Raytheon, another engineer, Marvin Bach, was independently pursuing microwave heating using a different wavelength. His choice was technical, not accidental. Spencer himself had started with a magnetron producing a wavelength of about 5 inches, an ideal size because he had determined that radiation heating worked best when the wavelength matched the size of the food being cooked. Bach's wavelength, by contrast, was comparable in size to the oven cavity itself, which produced standing waves and uneven heating, a technical dead end that Spencer reportedly opposed. But Bach had the idea. Bach was working on microwave cooking too. He just had not run the candy bar experiment. He had not stopped long enough at the right moment. He had not filed the paperwork. This is the part the popular story skips. A historical account of microwave development states plainly, it is not clear how or when Spencer came up with the idea of building a microwave oven, or even that he was the first to think of it. The discovery happened twice because the conditions were ripe. The magnetron was in the building. The corporate pressure to find post-war applications was real because Raytheon was about to lose the bulk of its wartime revenue. The basic physics of dielectric heating was waiting in the equations. Spencer did not invent the microwave. He noticed it, and he was the one who filed the paperwork. The world was ready. He was just the one who paid attention. And the thing he patented was not the thing that ended up in your kitchen. The first commercial microwave was the Radarange, introduced by Raytheon in 1947. It stood nearly 6 feet tall. It weighed 750 pounds. It cost roughly $5,000. Its first customer was a restaurant in Cleveland. The intended use was industrial. Fast heating for restaurants, cafeterias, military mess halls, anywhere food had to be warmed for large groups in a hurry. In 1955, the Tappan RL-1 brought microwaves into homes for the first time, priced at $1,295, equivalent to roughly $15,000 today. Only 34 units sold that year. The market did not want what Spencer had invented. The microwave that transformed cooking arrived in 1977 when Amana, a Raytheon subsidiary, introduced a countertop Radarange priced under $500. That was the appliance your mother used. That was the appliance your grandmother pretended not to need. The industrial heating chamber on Spencer's patent drawing became a kitchen counterbox through 2 decades of corporate reinterpretation, and Spencer had nothing to do with that transition. He was already gone. Percy Spencer died on September 8, 1970. He was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame posthumously in 1999, 29 years after his death. The candy bar melted in 1945 because a self-taught engineer happened to be standing next to a British magnetron inside an American defense contractor. He was not the only one looking. He was just the one who looked closely enough to file. The microwave oven was not invented. It was noticed twice by people who happened to be near the right machine at the right moment, working inside an institution whose existence depended on a piece of technology shared by an ally that was losing a war. And the appliance Spencer imagined was never the appliance that reached your kitchen. He patented a factory. The world got a countertop. What surprised you most about this story? Tell us in the comments. And if you enjoy discovering the real origins behind familiar things, leave a like and subscribe to the Origin Portal.